So making an OnlyFans Management Agency contract is probably one of the more monotonous and probably boring parts of starting an OnlyFans Management Agency, but it is an essential part of starting one. If you get your first model and okay, she's ready to go, she wants to get started ASAP, and you don't have a contract ready, then you're gonna find yourself going out, you're gonna scramble to figure out what you need to put in a contract, and you're just gonna rush everything, and you're gonna put in some stuff, and you think you're gonna be good, you think you're gonna be covered, and then you're gonna send it to her, and then you're gonna forget 2 or 3 things, and it's gonna come back to bite you later on. So it's essential to make sure that you have a bulletproof contract that not only protects yourself, but also protects the model immediately before even really reaching out to any of your models, because your goal is to get a model, and you might get a model relatively quick if you use solid strategies and you aren't an idiot. And so having a contract is absolutely essential. In this video, I'm gonna show you and explain to you some of the key parts as to what you should definitely have in your OnlyFans management contract. So let's go. Hey, I'm Patty OFM, your friendly neighborhood OnlyFans manager, managing girls in the top 1% and helping other OnlyFans management agency owners achieve their dreams of growing, scaling, and optimizing their own OnlyFans management agencies with the absolute best processes out there. Shoot me a follow and a DM to my Instagram, which is in the description of this video, and let's connect on Telegram. So it's pretty obvious, some of this stuff, but making an OnlyFans management agency contract is essential for several different reasons. The first one, and probably the most important to you as an OnlyFans management agency owner, is that it protects you from any legalities that occur in the future as a result of you running this agency. We're working in the adult industry, so having clauses and items in there that protect you with regard to how content gets used is essential and really will save you headache, especially when you get bigger. But secondly, the contract is meant to also protect your models as well. It's meant to protect their privacy and several other things that I'm gonna get into here in a second, but it needs to have stuff in there that protects the model as well and allows you to build trust that way. Also, it really just stops disputes before they even happen. If there's ever any issues in the future between yourself and the model, you can typically go back to the contract, especially if you have a good contract, and point out areas where you can solve the dispute. So it's really meant to be kind of the one single source of truth for you as the agency owner. And then lastly, it really just officializes and formalizes things and makes it look like you actually have your shit together, which you should. You should have your shit together if you're running an agency and running someone else's livelihood. Also, before we get further into this, I want to make it very, very clear that you should definitely be using at least one legal resource when it comes to vetting and coming up with your contract and making sure it's legally sound. Because if you don't, you're not a legal expert, you don't write contracts for a living, so there's going to be flaws. Honestly, I'd recommend getting vetted by a couple different legal professionals if you can afford it. What we used is that we use Contracts Counsel, and there's actually people on that website, it's contractscounsel.com, who are familiar with working with agencies and can give you some pointers when it comes to building your contract, and it can even actually write you contracts themselves. But my advice is to actually create a rough draft contract with some of the points that I'm going to point out on this video, and then bring that to the table with the legal expert that you end up working with, or legal experts, I should say, and allow them to vet it out and give you language that actually makes sense in the contract legally. So build your own contract, bring it to the table with them, and allow them to vet it out. If you have the money, you can have them write it from scratch, but that's just what I would do in order to save yourself a little bit of money, because it would get very expensive if you had them write a contract from scratch for you. As far as what the contract itself should contain, I would say probably about 10 different components that I would recommend that you have in there in some fashion. And I'm going to run through them relatively quickly here. The first one is the appointment of services. What did you and the model agree on as far as what you as the agency are going to do for them? For example, are you going to be just doing the marketing and advertising? Are you going to be the one just driving traffic to their page? Are you going to be coming up with a monetization strategy or even chatting on their behalf or setting up chatting strategies for them? Are you doing account management with the actual OF and also their social medias? And also, setting the tone on behalf of being able to communicate on behalf of the client. So when you're setting up different captions or whatever it is, you need to have that written into your contract as well. Next, you need to explain the rights to the content and also explain how it's going to be used. In the contract, you need to state somewhere in there that the model gives you as the agency the right to use her content for the purpose of growing their OnlyFans and driving traffic to their page. In return, you need to explain and highlight in the contract as well that you as the agency will keep all of that content private and legally not use that content for anything outside of what is stated inside this contract and what was previously stated in the appointment of services clause that I had just mentioned a second ago. This industry is extremely predatory, unfortunately. There's a lot of shitty agencies out there, and this clause is how you're going to separate yourself from the really shitty agencies out there. After that, you're going to want to identify and explain the commission portion of this contract and your agreement with the model. What that includes is the percentage. What are you going to get paid based on your services? What percentage are you going to get paid? Also, what is it based on? Is it based on PPVs, tips, like chatting stuff? Or is it based on subscription or a mix of both? What is it based on? And then lastly, is it a tiered commission model? Like, for example, if they get bigger, like if they reach a certain threshold, like 20K per month, does the commission rate lower? What does that look like? All of that's really important to identify as well. So after identifying and explaining the commission related information as part of this agreement, you're gonna wanna also explain the payment related information around how the model is going to pay you. Like, for example, how are you going to be collecting payment? Are you going to be invoicing them? Also, how often are you going to be collecting your payment? And also, is there a grace period? Like, for example, OnlyFans holds the funds associated with whatever you make for a 7-day period. If you're not giving them a 7-day grace period, it might be a little bit tough for them, especially at first, to pay your invoices. So just keep that in mind when you're coming up with this portion of your contract. The next thing you're gonna wanna put in the contract itself is something that explains and confirms that the model is going to retain ownership of the social media accounts that she owned and used prior to your agreement. This is another really important part to build trust with your model, because what a lot of shitty agencies do, unfortunately, is that they don't put something like this and then they assume control after they do a shitty job or something goes wrong in the relationship. And something like this is extremely important to put in the contract just to save that level of trust. The next thing you need to address in your contract is the term of the agreement, and you shouldn't actually have a term. This should be an at-will agreement. This should be something where the model or yourself as the agency can terminate the agreement at any time without any repercussions. And essentially this clause needs to confirm that and allow it to be a very simple process. Like, for example, how can you terminate your agreement? Is it just by sending a text? Whatever it is. Next, there needs to be a clause that specifically addresses confidentiality. You need to confirm with the model that you will not be using any of their content for anything outside of what's described in this agreement. I know I mentioned that a little bit ago, but it's important to have a very completely separate clause directly related to this. And now on the flip side, for yourself as the agency, you need to have something in there that confirms that the model isn't going to steal some of the tactics or some of the insight and the knowledge and bring that to another agency, for example. So it kind of goes both ways with regard to this confidentiality clause that you would put in your agreement. Last two things here. There should be an age of consent. There should be something in there that the model signs off on that says that they are above the age of 18 and can work on OnlyFans. And also it would be a good idea to collect a copy of their ID to confirm this when they go to sign as well. Don't want to get in trouble with anything like that. And then also, you want to put in the governing law and jurisdiction as it relates to this agreement, like where are any disputes potentially going to be solved. Like if you're a US-based agency, you probably want to put the United States just to confirm that. But those are a little bit minor, and they're relatively self-explanatory, but they're important to have, obviously. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. An OnlyFans management contract is crucial to the long-term success of your agency. And the nice part about it is that once you have one done and it's strong and solid, you pretty much don't have to go back and do it again. Maybe for some minor adjustments, things around commission, like a tiered commission structure, whatever you agree with the model. But for the most part, you don't have to go back and recreate a contract from scratch every single time that you sign on a model, which is great. So it's a worthwhile time investment up front. And it'll save you headache later on when you inevitably get into some problematic situations with either models or just other things related to this industry. Just make sure that you get help with getting this done. Don't just try to figure it out on your own and not get legal help. That would just be literally so stupid. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you found this video helpful at all, I really would appreciate a like. Really helps with the algorithm. And if you want to see more content like this, where I dive into very specific parts around starting an OnlyFans management agency or scaling one or just traffic sources, I'm going to be coming out with a lot more. There's way too much to cover, so I probably am just going to be doing this for a while. But yeah, other than that, I have my Instagram in the description. Looking to start up a network of OnlyFans managers to really just shoot ideas across each other. So shoot me a DM on Instagram, shoot me a follow, and I'll give you my Telegram, and love to connect. But other than that, appreciate it, guys. See you next time.